Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, it looks like there is another gaming argument on our hands, or at least on my hands. But no, if you watch videos on my main channel, I know some of you guys might just strictly listen to my podcast, but I had uploaded a video where I was talking about the video game Dead by Daylight. For those that don't know of that game, pretty much, if I can sum it up in a simple way, you play as a monster player, and then you can also play as like victim players. And then as the monster player, you go around and chase down the victims and try to kill them and win the game. The victim players, they pretty much go around, either start up generators or I guess wait until the time goes out in order to leave, or to, I think that's overall, like, that's pretty much how Dead by Daylight plays. But no, over the years though, a lot of games have came out that was like Dead by Daylight. And it's just crazy to me because when I look at those games, I'm thinking to myself, okay, these are games that are going to last. These are games that people are going to play for a while. But then I sit down and I start thinking about it. Well, wait a minute. I put all this time and hours and effort into playing Dead by Daylight. Why would I step away? It's kind of like Call of Duty Warzone, for an example, right? And Battlefield RedSec. Why would I step away? Because I have to say that's another video game genre where it's like, okay, not even video game genre, video game. Battlefield RedSec, it's pretty much Call of Duty if they had a Battlefield mod. So when you look at these games like Friday the 13th, Halloween, there's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How I look at it, it's pretty much mods that could have been, or DLCs that could have been in Dead by Daylight. Because when you look at the gameplay in Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Halloween game, and you compare it to Dead by Daylight, it is literally the same thing. And it was funny because somebody had commented underneath that video, and that's what I more so wanted to talk about, was their comment. I did respond to their comment, but I feel like that, no, I need to talk a little bit more. I'm not going to write out no multi-paragraph long comment, but I am going to talk about it on my podcast. So, but no, I just found it silly how the guy, so he goes on, because I think I had said that there are some extraction shooter games where, yes, they're in that same genre, but the games are different. And he was trying to say that that's a wild statement to make. And I'm like, okay, can you show me how Arc Raiders and Escape from Tarkov, that's the same game? Yes, it's in the same genre, but it's kind of like racing games. You can't look at a racing game like Gran Turismo and say it's exactly like Forza Motorsports. No, those games are differently. They play differently. I can even say that's a genre where I'm like, I know racing games, I feel like more than anybody. Need for Speed and Test Drive, two different, yes, they might be open world, but it's like those games are different. They play differently. They have modes differently in that game. What are some? Mario Kart and Sonic. Yes, I had to say those are probably, out of all the racing games that I just compared, those will probably be the most similar games, but still, they play differently. All right, so the maps are different. What else? I wouldn't necessarily, I guess, like how you go about selecting a, well, actually, it did kind of feel like, whatchamacallit, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I would say, like, okay, if that game, if I could say that it was like any of the Mario Kart games, it probably will be like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But, Mario Kart, okay, so the Nintendo Switch Mario games, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart World. But other than that, though, it's like, but you can play both games and be like, yeah, this game is far more different than Mario Kart. So my thing is this. I have not heard not one person say, oh, Friday the 13th is a whole new experience. Texas Chainsaw, it's a whole new experience. In this Halloween game, it hasn't came out yet. But even then, it's like, it was funny because that's how I had seen, like, some parts of the Halloween game. And I'm thinking to myself, is this another Dead by Daylight game? And it was funny because it was a friend of mine that was reacting to it on her Twitch channel. And I even asked her, and I was all like, is this another Dead by Daylight game? And you could just hear the disappointment. Like, it just seemed like that she was just, accepting the game for what it is. And it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of just know that the game ain't gonna last, because it's like, okay, well, what's different than this in Dead by Daylight? I could just play Dead by Daylight. Or if they had, I guarantee and I promise you, if they had a mod system for Dead by Daylight, none of these other games like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw, Halloween, I'm trying to think, they're gonna probably come out with a Terrifier one at some point. I guarantee and I promise you, at some point in time, we're going to see a Terrifier video game just like Dead by Daylight. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, there's so many different things that you guys can do with this game. Why just go down that route of let's make another Dead by Daylight game? Fam, people are already, they're already locked in on playing Dead by Daylight. I feel like the only time when they'll play these other games is when they're trending for a while, they want to see what the game is about, realize that, okay, there's this, amount of grinding that I have to do to get to the, I guess, like, tail end, well, not really the tail end of the game, because there ain't even, like, no story. So that's the thing, I guess, for people that don't really know too much about the Dead by Daylight games. It's a multiplayer game. There isn't no story. You pretty much just go into a map, and if you're playing as the monster, you kill the victims, and if you're playing as the victims, I don't even think they have it set up where you can kill, like, the monster enemies and stuff. I don't think they had it set up like that in Friday the 13th. Dead by Daylight, or I guess when this Halloween game come out, why would they have it where Michael Myers didn't die in the movies? Why would he just all of a sudden die in the video games? So I think they do have it where they can temporarily, like, I guess, like, knock you out or something, and then after a few seconds done went by, then your character, if you're playing as the monster, then your character gets back up, and then you go ahead and continue on with the game. But overall, though, it's like, there's no story, it's just the same, multiplayer session over and over again. And then you might have a chance of playing as the monster, I guess, with Dead by Daylight. It's because I just remember playing that game, and it took me a while to get to play as the monster. And I will say that is one thing that I did like about Friday the 13th, was that and I completely forgot, there was the other game, I forgot to mention that game in the video, but it's funny how that game just came to mind right now, and it's like even more I guess evidence to showcase how all these games are alike. And I will say that this game, I think they tried to do things somewhat differently, but at the same time, it's like, it's still that Dead by Daylight video game, where I'm like, you could have just added this as a DLC to Dead by Daylight. But anyways, and I think the reason why they don't do that, because a lot of these companies want to make their own money. They don't want to have no shared money where half of it goes to Dead by Daylight and then half of it goes to them. They want all of the money to go to them. But anyways, no, they came out with a Killer Clowns from Outer Space video game. For those that have seen that movie, and one of my personal, favorites growing up. Yeah, it might be one of those corny movies and stuff, but I'm like, hey, bruh, it's a classic, okay? But no, anyways, they made that into a video game, and I'm thinking to myself, when they announced it, at first I was happy, but I'm like, there's a lot of different, like, I guess, these horror games that came out. I know it ain't gonna be on no stuff like Phasmophobia. I know it ain't gonna be no jump scare type game. What other, I guess, type of video game are they gonna make this like? I really hope it's not like Dead by Daylight. And sure enough, it was exactly like Dead by Daylight. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, fam, there are so many different routes. Because I guess people, they'll probably be wondering, okay, well, TMossBoss, how would you, if you're coming out with a, like, let's say I'm trying to think, okay, Terrifier. You're supposed to come out with a Terrifier video game. It obviously can't be this, crazy game, but at the same time, like, you can't, well, and that's the thing where I'm like, well, why can't it not be this game where it's like, you play as the Terrifier, and then, you get to just go around and kill people and stuff. Like, you just, level up as the Terrifier, and you just gotta find, like, creative ways of, killing people. I get that it's a crazy thing to do, but at the same time, name a video game where killing people in there, it's like, it's looked down upon. Because what, Grand Theft Auto, it's existed for years. Call of Duty done existed for years. I'm trying to think of some other, Battlefield. There's so many different games out there where it's all about shooting and killing people and stuff, or just overall killing people. So my thing is, even they got like zombie games where it's like, the people might be dead, but overall though, you're still killing them. So this is the route that I would go down if I was creating the Terrifier game. And I guess, just to overall showcase my creativity, I'll talk on Killer Clowns, I'll talk on Friday the 13th, I'll talk on Halloween, What else? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because there's so many different things that you can do with that. So, and I think that probably would be one like type of video game that I would explore and be thinking along. I guess if I had to base it off of another video game, then one game that I would base it off of is the Alien versus Predator game, where so like for an example, because I with Terrifier it was like the victims and the Terrifier, so I think I would have it set up where you have the choice on either playing as a victim and you have to figure out how to kill the Terrifier, but I'm at least gonna have it where there's a story being told, whether it's a story from the movies or it's just an original story from myself, and I'm good at writing stories, so I definitely will have it where it's like, okay, there's a group of people where they're studying the Terrifier, and they're all like, okay, we gotta figure out how we can kill this guy, because he's going around, he comes out at these certain times and he's killing people. Well, no, it wasn't set up like that. I think he just killed people, and it didn't matter what time it was, like, or it was like, wasn't, because I was thinking kind of along the lines like Jeepers Creepers, but I don't think it's set up like that where he disappears for a while, then come back and just kind of go on a killing spree and stuff. No, so I definitely would have it where it's like, okay, there's this group of people where they cross paths with Terrifier, and I guess maybe I'll have it set up where he killed one of their friends, and then they pretty much built this task force of maybe a soldier, maybe a ghost expert, or a priest, having it where it's just, like a bunch of different characters that we can explore and kind of have it where there's a little bit of background lore with them and stuff, right? So yeah, with the priest, then he's like, maybe have it where he does like some priest missions and things, and with the military guy, having it where it's like, he's shooting at the Terrifier and stuff, doesn't really kill him, but he just kind of like knocks him down. Then it's like, okay, you gotta go and collect these things, and just have it where there's just more than just like, okay, you just running around and trying to start up some generators and stuff. So I definitely will have it where it's like, okay, escape from the Terrifier, temporarily knock the Terrifier out, okay, we gotta travel over into this area to collect these things to see if that would be a way of killing. So I think that would be the premise of the game, is having it where they're trying to figure out how to kill the Terrifier, and then probably have it at the very like tail end of the game where pretty much I guess that's how I would go about it, have it where all the characters that you played as, they all get killed, and then the Terrifier, he lives on, and that's how the video game ends. And then I'll have it set up where it's like, would you like to start the Terrifier side of the story? So now it's like, switching it to the other side where it's set up to where, okay, now you have to figure out how to kill these guys, but they're also trying to kill you. So you have to, I guess, maybe try to remember the things that he did. So I feel like that could be a good aspect to the game. It's kind of like have like a little bit of a puzzle element to it and stuff, right? But overall, it's like you have to remember the stuff that they did and you have to avoid it. And it probably might be a slightly harder playing as the Terrifier, but at least you'll have some advantages where it's like, okay, you'll have to do this, you'll have to do that. But yeah, maybe have it where it might be on some open world stuff where you could just go around and kill people, kind of build up his strength and things. But I'm definitely going to have it set up where it's more than just the typical Dead by Daylight stuff. And then yeah, do the same with Halloween, Texas Chainsaw. I think with Halloween, I'll have it set up where you get a chance to play as Michael Myers. So probably same business, you going around breaking into people's houses, killing them, having to avoid cops. What else? Maybe have like kind of like some Easter egg stuff in there where it's like, oh, collect some knives, and then you get to unlock like maybe certain knives. Well, because all the knives I felt like were the same in the Halloween movies and stuff. So I don't know, but I probably would have it where it's like, okay, you have to collect a certain amount of knives. Because a knife might break at some point, so you'll have to break into a house, get another knife. But you don't know which house is gonna have the knife, so I'll probably have it where it's just kind of like randomly generated and stuff. But you can also kill people, with like some objects, so you'll have to like kind of lure them in there. Because it seemed like at times in the movies, them characters, they just do some old dumb stuff like, oh, they'll hear a noise and they're like, oh, what was that? Why the dog's going crazy? Oh, what was that downstairs? Let me go down there and investigate with no weapons or nothing. And then then I'll have it where it's like, Michael Myers, he just sneaks up on them and stuff, and then maybe I'll smash their head into the wall, or they slams their back and breaks their spine across the table or something. But just some different things, But overall though, yeah, have it where it's like, he has to So yeah, he don't really know that area. So I think I definitely would have it where if you've seen the movies, then you'll know exactly which street you're going down. Because I probably would have it where it's maybe not like a big old giant open world, but kind of like a miniature sized town. Because I know he's gonna be walking around a lot and stuff. So yeah, I definitely would have it where it's like it's a big enough town where you can kind of just walk around, explore, look at different things, maybe find some Easter eggs from the movies and all that stuff. But then have it where it's like he has to go into the town and figure out where the Jamie Lee Curtis's character lives. So I'll definitely have it set up where it's like, throughout the game, yeah, he's just going around killing people, trying to figure out where Jamie Lee Curtis is. Maybe it might have it where it's open world and it's like, that's the puzzle to it. Or just have it where it's like, hey, you got to go to this area, and then you'll kind of get like some idea and stuff. Why did he try to? I got to watch Halloween again, because I'm sitting here thinking about that. I'm like, what was up with him trying to kill Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, she didn't do nothing to him. Then they tried to portray like they were brothers, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it was, yeah, Michael Myers is weird, bro. I'm like, he got some stuff going on. But anyways, but yeah, overall though, I'll probably have it where it's set up like that. With Michael Myers, and then have it again, kind of like the Alien versus Predator, like that, how that game went about. Because in that game, I guess for those that never did get a chance to play, they had you had a chance of playing as the alien, the Predator, and a human. So I was all like, bro, that's dope that they have you do that. It's like, why don't more games have you do stuff like that? So it's like, I mean, even Grand Theft Auto in the way kind of did it where you got to play as 3 different characters and stuff. So I'm saying, like, you would think that, I mean, I get Dead by Daylight, it was a very successful game, but I feel like that there are other genres. I'm not saying you need to make Halloween into a racing game, it's like, oh, well, it's like you say making these genres. No, I'm saying, like, obviously make it into a scary game, but at the same time, it has to be different. It can't be a game that already exists. And it's like, especially if I'm telling you, if Dead by Daylight, if they're all like, hey, we ran out of ideas, now we're going to leave it up to the fans to, it's going to shut these other games down. Like, nobody's not going to play these games. It's like, okay, I get to customize the map and then customize the character that I want to play as, and then I get to add weapons and all these other different things, and then just pretty much play as Leatherface or Michael Myers or Jason or whoever and things. But even the kid, maybe not all of them, but it's like, okay, well, if you have a chance of playing as all these different, then it's going to probably be some memes getting created in that game. Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't think Dead by Daylight has a mod. I think I looked this up. Yeah, no, it doesn't have no mod support. But anyways, but yeah, if they ever do decide to do that, I'm like, nah, man, it's gonna just it's gonna shut these other games down. But overall though, like I was saying with the Halloween game, have it where you get to play as that doctor that was going around chasing Michael and stuff, and then you have to like try to figure out where Michael is at. So it's all like you kind of have like a cop in your ear telling you like, hey, there's reports of a man in black with a because it was actually William Shatner, that mask that he was wearing. That's something that still shocks me, because I'm like, William Shatner? I mean, I guess, man. But anyways, have it where there's a cop in your ear saying like, hey, there's a man that fit Michael's description that was over in this location. So now you gotta go over there, figure out where he is, shoot at him a few times. Don't really do a whole lot in things, but overall though, it's like you're just trying to like chase him down. But there's like a story being told with everybody. Then you get to play as Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and then maybe have it where her side of the story. It starts off all nice, she walks home with her friend, talks just kind of like how they did in the movies, and then she's preparing for that get together or the babysitting the kid and stuff, but it just gets creepier and creepier. So there's like things that's kind of scaring her, and then that's freaking her out and all this other, then eventually it gets to the end where she is fighting Michael and stuff. So it's like, I'll probably have it set up like that, where there's having where it might be a little bit more than they did in the movie, where it's like she gets to use any like household items. So I think that will probably be a good feature, where it's like a physics feature where you get to use any household item. So if you want to break apart the stairs and use the railing as kind of like that stick part in the middle of the stairs, where it's like use that as a weapon. Or if you want to use the wall, like have it where it's kind of like some Rainbow Six Siege physics, where you can just pretty much break apart the whole house, you know, maybe obviously not throw Michael Myers through a window and stuff, but yeah, have it where maybe Michael Myers, he could throw people through windows and, you know, do all these other different crazy things, and throw them down. Probably have it where it's like some ragdoll physics where he can throw them down the stairs, and then there's like a kind of like a meter thing to, you know, whether it's like, yeah, you killed, yeah, overall killing them and stuff. But yeah, overall though, I'm like, how could that be a bad idea? And I know there's gonna be people out there gonna try to say, oh, that sounds bad, that sounds, you don't know gaming, go play Dead by Daylight. But I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to a person that's a $1 million idea and you gonna say it's bad. No, that ain't even on no stuff where I'm like, I'm not trying to, you know, make it seem like that my ideas are the best. Like, obviously, my thing is this: if I thought it was a bad idea, I wouldn't talk about it. So yeah, there have been, you know, video game ideas and stuff like that where I've thought about it and I'm like, nah, that probably won't work. You know, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more. But yeah, I feel like that actually would be kind of dope, where it's like you pretty much get 3 games in one. How would that be a problem? How would that end when it was successful with Grand Theft Auto? It was successful for Aliens versus Predator. I'm trying to think of some other games where they had you play as multiple characters. Yeah, I've never heard. I'm like, well, Grand Theft Auto probably being the biggest. That game, man, my thing is this. I'm not trying to have a game where it's like, okay, you just play it because you have like an addiction to it. No, I'm trying to play it because in a way, yes, you do have an addiction to it, but it's one of the funniest games that you've ever played. And that's why I think so many people loved and respect Grand Theft Auto 5, because look at the stories that they told. Look at the backstories that they told. Look at all the different things that you can do when playing as Michael, Trevor, and Franklin. And then that final mission, I'm saying, bro, it was some things that they did in that game where I'm like, yeah, bro, you can't say that would be a bad idea. But anyways, and then yeah, you know, with Killer Clowns, I probably would have it where it's just strictly on the clowns. Like, you know, I think probably to just kind of change that up a little bit, where it's yeah, just strictly you only play as the clowns. I don't know, maybe I might do a secondary or a DLC where you get to play as the victims, but I just feel like that it'll probably be more fun playing as the clowns, and then probably have it where it's like you start off as like a small clown and then you work your way up as to one of like the bigger clowns and stuff, and then you have like more like an arsenal of weapons, a bunch of different things that you can do. That balloon dog that they had, yeah, I definitely will have it set up where it's kind of on some stuff like that, where you just kind of gotta go around, lure people, kill them, and all these other different things. And yeah, you know, just have it where it's like you pretty much just in a way it's kind of like the Dead by Daylight, but it's like some NPCs and you're in this big old giant open world and stuff. So yeah, definitely have it where probably because they did have cars in there, so I definitely will have it where it's you know, I'm over here thinking of an idea with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm like, that probably would have been a much more better idea than what they overall went with and stuff. But anyways, but yeah, I'll probably have it where Killer Clowns, you get to play as the clowns and stuff. Now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I had to say, just asking this question, what is one game that we played as a kid where it was, you know, because we played a lot, at least for me, I played tag, capture the flag, freeze, I'm trying to think, but one game that we played as a kid where I was like, and you kind of see it in Gmod, for an example, hide and seek. Why couldn't they have not done that? If they wanted to have it where it's multiplayer, okay, cool, have it where it's multiplayer. But my thing is this, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, hear me out on this idea. Big giant, well, maybe not a giant like no Grand Theft Auto size, but kind of like it's just all the different areas in the like throughout the whole franchise. So that gas station from that 2003 one, the RV out in the middle of the area of the houses, all that other different stuff, right? Have it where it's just the slaughterhouse. There's all these different areas that you can go to, and then there's a team of people where it's like, okay, you gotta like spawn in, and as all the different, so yeah, Leatherface, and then what was it, his that one dude that was, he cut his hand in that very first Texas Chainsaw, he cut his hand and then was freaking out everybody in the van and stuff, you know. Have it where yeah, you get to play as him, then the dad. You know, I'm trying to think who else. Maybe I guess like in case if you're in the house and things, then that granddad in the wheelchair, but he didn't even move. That man was dead. I was like, people can say, no, he was kind of somewhat alive. That man was dead. The way he looked, there was no way that man was alive. Yeah, I just think that it was just spasms that just kept his, you know, I'm saying, like, as crazy as those guys were, crazy people, I've never really, you know, seen a crazy person in that state, but I'm like, yeah, I feel like if there's any way of placing it, that's how a crazy person is going to be when they die. But that man was dead, okay? So, but anyways, but no, I think I would have it set up that way, where it's like a big giant hide and seek simulator, where it's like, yeah, you know, have it where it could be taking place during the day. And then it's like a countdown, and it's like, okay, everybody has to pretty much get killed. But it wasn't really, it was, you know, I just think that having it set up where it's just that, you know, go around, start up some generators, and then you have to escape. No, I just think that, you know, and I guess like if people are all like, okay, that sounds exactly what Dead by Daylight, what the game already was. Okay, then I'll just have it where that's also a story-based game, you know, where it's like, okay, you get to play, as Leatherface, explore the family and things, you know, maybe have it where it's like kind of like maybe a prequel before he met those people and stuff. So it's kind of like, you know, showcasing his early killings, how he became Leatherface, you know, him trying to adapt and things. And then, yeah, you know, just having it where it's, yeah, maybe a prequel, you know, so it could kind of give people a little bit of a backstory with Leatherface. But, yeah, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea if it was story-based and things, you know, maybe have it where people feel kind of sorry for Leatherface. But, yeah, at the same time, though, have it where it's, you know, it's different. But the same old Dead by Daylight, you know, genre. And it was funny because that's what that guy goes on to say. He was like, well, yeah, the comment, I think I did kind of somewhat say what he said in the comment section. He was like saying extraction shooters are different because they do some slight things differently. They ignoring when ASYM horror games have different things is kind of wild. But I'm like, okay, you can look at Gray Zone Warfare and say that that's different from Incursion Red River. You can look at Incursion Red River and say that that's different than Escape from Tarkov. You can look at Escape from Tarkov and say that that's different than Ark Raiders. You cannot say that about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, and Dead by Daylight. They are the same games, okay? So anyways, with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Like, subscribe, viewing this on YouTube. Follow or subscribe, viewing this on the podcast streaming service. And peace.